And whenever I hear that music, I know it's time to introduce Helping Seniors of Brevard. Good afternoon. I'm John Harper. It's Wednesday, just a little bit after 12 noon. Let's get things underway as I introduce to you the host of Helping Seniors of Brevard and the executive director. Here's Kerry Fink. Hi, Kerry.
Thank you, John Harper. It's always a pleasure to be right here on 90.3 FM radio, 30,000 watts, just booming up and down the Space Coast and covering everything, from Daytona Beach almost down into Indian River County, and we get calls even from over in Orlando area. So welcome to the show today. We gather around the radio.
We get down to Port St. Lucie.
Wow. Terrific. See, and so therefore, welcome and hello, Port St. Lucie and all ships at sea and stuff like that too. But also want to welcome those who join us online, because they could be literally anywhere at WEJF.net, and also a shout out to everyone who tunes in via podcast. They catch these as podcasts because as soon as we finish the radio broadcast, we get these out on Apple iTunes and every place else you find a podcast. So welcome to the show. It's always fun for us. We gather Wednesdays lunchtime, 12 noon Eastern time, right here on WEJF Net. And Helping Seniors Radio really is kind of the brainchild of none other than Joe Steckler, our president and founder, and really John Harper. You were the other, I guess I would call you the instigator for public good, getting Joe's radio shows on the air, going really all the way back to actually when Joe was building the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation up and getting those Joe's Clubs established. And then now here we are with Helping Seniors 12 years later, operating the county senior information helpline. That's that free call at 321-473-7770. We are literally, I was talking to Joe Steckler, our president and founder, just a few minutes ago, and we were talking about the fact that now that helpline is taking more than 400 calls every month. So we used to say we'd helped several thousand folks since the organization began, but now with the increasing need and the increasing number of seniors who are in our area, that's now becoming several thousand per year at the rate we're going. And so the work of helping seniors is so important. Our theme for the year is getting your ducks in a row. And what do we mean by that? We mean that we are trying to do what Joe says to encourage you to develop your own aging plan. It's the idea that you should be thinking about the things that are going to help you as we collect years, or some people say trips around the sun, that we're prepared for the things that we might run into. And so Helping Seniors is a 501c3, which is a fancy term for nonprofit. We exist for no other reason than to serve you. And we do that with the senior information line. We do that with good information on the radio that hopefully will help you manage the things that you go through and make the best of your senior years. And it's always fun because we get some really, really great friends of Helping Seniors to join us on the radio. And I'm so excited that today we have longtime friend. I'm talking about John Harper helping Joe get into radio, but this gentleman helped Joe get started with the TV. And for those of you who don't know, we broadcast 3 times a day on Space Coast Government TV. If you have cable in this county, you have it automatically on your TV. We broadcast at 8:30 and 4:30 and 5 p.m. every weekday. So 3 times a day you can find Helping Seniors TV there. If you don't have cable, that's okay. You can find Space Coast Government television and watch it just from your iPhone or your computer or however you do that. And we're also available on YouTube and Facebook and places like that. But it is none other than Dr. Lee Sheldon, who all those years ago had his very own TV show, and he invited Joe to be his guest, and that got the whole thing started. Dr. Sheldon, how are you today?
It did, and what a pleasure it was, because Joe and I then started a long, long friendship, and it goes until today. It was 12 years ago. We used to have those meetings upstairs in my office. At that time, Joe was comfortable going up the stairs, but he said, we've got to change this a little bit, and so the meetings moved someplace else. But that's where we all started. We had a good time.
Yeah, and it's funny, even as you and I are on the radio today, Dr. Sheldon, like I mentioned, I was talking to Joe just a few minutes ago, and he was literally on his way out to physical therapy. And Joe, he's just a trooper. He won't give up for nothing. And so he's out like 3 times a week going to physical therapy, and he puts himself through the paces. And here he is. He's like 89. I mean, it's terrific. It's amazing. So what we thought we would talk about today, Dr. Sheldon, and I thought this is so important. When the title of our show is The Principles of Our Practice. And so I don't know, Dr. Sheldon, when I was a kid and going to school, and they always told us, what's the difference between the principal and the principal? And the principal of your school, well, he was your pal, P-A-L. So you spelled principal that way if it was your principal. But we're actually talking about the other principle, which is the principles of your practice. And Dr. Sheldon, you and I have done TV shows before, and I know you've done similar with Joe. They're all available on the YouTube channel, where you have talked about how important the medical staff in an office, whether it be dental or medical, is so important to getting an excellent outcome for the patients who come to the office. It's not just the doctor; it is really that whole thing working together. And when I was looking over some of the bullet points, I would almost call this like a patient's bill of rights. And I thought this is going to be a fun topic for us to talk about, because so often, Dr. Sheldon, we're intimidated when we come into either a dentist's office or a medical office, because we don't really think we know necessarily even the right questions to ask. And so if we don't do our part as the patient, we can't necessarily always make it easy for the persons who are trying to help us to give us the right help. And I thought that's why what you're going to talk about today is so important.
Well, it's true. And we encourage, I've got 3 outstanding assistants that I work with. It's a big practice, but I have my own 3 assistants who are doing the examinations with me. And one thing that we encourage the assistants to do is to ask questions as if you were the patient, so that if the patient is embarrassed, at least the advocate, meaning the assistant, will ask the questions. The assistant may know the answers. In fact, often they do. But let the assistant ask the question so that the patient says, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Thanks for asking that question for me. These are big decisions you make, and it isn't just coming into our practice. I'm saying the principles of our practice, but I would imagine that these could be principles of any business that we came up with. And yeah, I mean, I don't care whether you're buying a car or whether you're buying dental implants. Principle number 1 is you will be fully informed of the work that we're doing and the reasons for that work. Okay? The car that you're buying and why this may be a good idea. The jewelry that you're buying or the watch that you're buying and how long it's going to last. The medical procedure that you're going to have done and what are the consequences if I don't do it. All of those things are, we're all in sales mode. I hate to say that. I mean, in my practice, what do? I do examinations and treatment plans. Do you know what that means? I'm the salesman for the practice. Doesn't that sound horrible?
Well,
but that's a good person who sells and sells correctly doesn't do high pressure selling, doesn't make somebody do something that he or she doesn't want. A salesperson essentially looks at the customer, asks the customer what he or she wants, and then proposes a solution for that problem. So that's what we should be looking for anywhere. I'll give you an example. And this just happened this week. A patient came in and said, I want dental implants. Okay, I want to extract all my teeth and I want dental implants. And I said, why? And whatever the person said, well, my teeth are going bad anyway, or whatever it was, whatever the assumption was. And I think even this patient had been told that dental implants would be the best solution. I looked at him and I said, all right, tell me about this. And he said, well, he already had a few dental implants anyway. He said, but I like the feeling of my natural teeth. I like being able to feel them. And I know with dental implants, I don't have that feeling. I don't, the implants are they're in tightly, but you don't have that feeling of the ligament and the nerve feedback, so that you know how you're chewing. And I said, so you want to keep some teeth in order to have that feeling? He said, yeah. And so then we looked at him, and I said, how about if we save every one of the teeth and we don't have to do any dental implants at all, or maybe a few dental implants on one side? How would you feel about that? Can you do it? I said, well, based on what you're showing me, there's no periodontal disease. There's very minimal tooth decay. And he even told me, and I hate to tell you, Kerry, he said, I drink 3 Cokes a day. Well, if your teeth have survived 3 Cokes a day and they're not decaying, why shouldn't we save the teeth rather than extract them and put something else in? So I've got to be able to understand what the patient wants. It isn't come in, I'll take out all the teeth like you see on TV, although as you know we do that. It's, what do you want? What are your expectations? What bugs you the most? And then come up with a treatment plan that works out best for him. Had another patient come in this week. And he said, well, I was told I need deep cleaning. And my wife told me to come to see you for a second opinion. So I did the full examination. He didn't need deep cleaning. All he needed was regular cleaning. That was it. So it's that's number 10. If you don't need treatment, we won't recommend treatment. It's one of those things where, I'm not perfect, but we certainly want the patient to have the best shot at an objective evaluation and needs fulfillment, and then, all right, let's attach a figure to that. Well, will that figure work out for you? No, I can't do it. Well, I'll say, all right, we can give you a lower level service, which may not be fixed in place like implants are, but we can give you a lower level service and we can do that. Or we can say, it's really not worth spending any money on these teeth at all. Maybe the best thing is for us to extract the teeth and put in dentures. And if that's the case, then the patient says, well, I don't have very much money. I said, well, there's an economy denture guy right down the street. Why don't you go see him? You don't have to see us. So there are lots of different options that each person has, and we want that examination and all of our treatment to reflect that.
What you're talking about, I got stuck on something you said a little bit earlier when you talked about you're the salesperson for the practice. And I wanted to hone in on that for a minute because as a person who's been involved over the years in marketing, look at me now. I hawk Helping Seniors car raffle tickets so that we can keep our Helping Seniors Helping Seniors charity alive and moving forward. But I think a lot of times, the concept of sales has really gotten maybe, sadly, a wrong meaning, because it seems like, we do, none of us like a high pressure salesperson who comes at us and says, if you don't buy this, you're an idiot, or hurry up, this is going to be gone at midnight. And people hate pressure like that. But I was actually thinking the other way around from what you were describing, even in your last example, that really, when somebody is doing the process of sales correctly, it really is all about customer service, right? You're trying to make sure that the person that you're working with, whatever the product is, that you're going to match them up with either the service or the product that's really going to solve the problem. I used to often will use this line that my father had, which he said, "I'm too poor to be able to buy cheap." And what he meant by that statement was, I have to buy the thing that's going to solve the problem because I can't keep wasting money. I have to solve the thing that I'm after. And as you were talking about this, I thought that's really one of the things that comes through in the principles of our practice that you were just going through, is that you really take the time to try to determine what's really in the best interest of the customer, even if we come in and we have maybe we saw an ad, or we have maybe an idea that may not necessarily be the best for us.
That's absolutely right. I'm going to come up with give you an adage that I believe came from me, but maybe somebody gave it to me. Should I try it? Should I give it to you? What do you think?
Sure, let's go for it.
The most expensive dentistry is the dentistry that has to be redone.
There you go. There you go. So, and that's a premise, because I know you and I have talked many times on many occasions about the fact that one of the things that you feel is very important in your practice is that you're able to afford the time when a new patient comes into the practice, because you really want to understand everything that's going on for them so that you're able to intelligently advise them like on the correct next steps. And one of the things that becomes a fundraiser for us that you've done, you said, even though it probably costs you a lot inside the dental practice, you make it possible not only for charities like Helping Seniors, but I think you've made it available with other folks too, that you have a plan where you say, look, I'm just going to underwrite the cost of that, and you're going to make a donation to Helping Seniors. And so you won't actually, other than that, out of pocket for that first visit. And I think you call it Solid Bite Gives Back. But the point is, I think that you were really so invested in the idea of getting a really good read on what's going on with the patient when they come into the office. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, you are, and it's interesting how that develops. Certainly, by the way, I suppose yes, it costs us money to do that, but it really doesn't. People come. One hand washes the other in one way or another. There's nothing wrong with giving service. There's nothing wrong in discounting services for people who can't afford treatment. I mean, there's certain things you just do because you have to do it. You have to help people. And this is just an extension of that. Yeah, I mean, Helping Seniors of Brevard benefits from that, but people are also impressed with it. They say, oh, gee, first examination, I didn't pay him anything. I wrote a check for $50, or hopefully more, to Helping Seniors of Brevard County, and I got the CAT scan, and I got the full examination, and they treated me nicely, and all of that. But I've got a great job because I've got the opportunity of only doing examinations. I'm not worried about what's going on either end. I don't have a surgical patient to worry about. I don't have other things that are going on. All I do is examinations, and that's all I've done for in our practice for 7 years. It's just examinations. That's all I do. So it's like I have my own little built-in specialty. I'm a periodontist, so that's a specialist in gum diseases and dental implants. So that's who I am by trade. I'm a specialist. It was interesting. I was in a medical meeting earlier this week, and the physician who was running the meeting wanted each of us to introduce ourselves. And when it came to me, instead of calling myself a dentist, instead of calling myself a periodontist, I called myself, wait for it, an oral diagnostician. The lecturer, who was a physician, said I'd never heard of that before, and I had to tell him afterwards, privately, what that really meant. So anyway.
Well, and actually, that's the point. When you were talking about, I guess it was point number 5, where you said you should expect treatment plan alternatives with risks or rewards as well as finances clearly spelled out. To me, isn't that one of the most critical things that as patients coming in, we need to understand clearly, what's our best option, and then kind of understand what we could do within the scope of what's real for each one of us, depending on our finances and time and things like that.
It's true, and we don't want to nickel and dime people, because there's so many times that, well, you didn't tell me that. You didn't tell me that. Oh, I didn't know this was going to be an additional charge. This is going to be an additional charge. We don't want that in our practice. When a person comes in, we commit to a treatment plan. That's the treatment plan. Oh, yeah, okay. So there may be different treatment plan alternatives at different costs with different benefits. But once we have that, that's your treatment plan. If we have to do a little bit more work in order to be able to execute that, that's on our dime, not on the patient's time. Once the patient has made a commitment, all right, I'm going to spend X amount of dollars, I'm going to get this service, then that's it.
The other thing I was going to mention is that, I think I said at the open of the show, we've called this year our theme for helping seniors, helping you get your ducks in a row, which is a nod to Joe's maybe slightly more formal and maybe slightly more correct term of getting an aging plan. In other words, thinking through those things that you want to accomplish. But as I've also been fond of saying, we keep learning as we explore this process all year. And I mean, Dr. Sheldon, we've been covering a lot of ground on this. We've talked about everything from legal paperwork that every senior should have in place for their own safety and peace of mind and helping their family out. And we've also talked about financial planning, all these things that you need to understand about everything from Social Security to retirement fundings and things like that. And then we spent a lot of time talking about even where you live. If you choose to live at home as we grow older, then how do we make sure the place that we live is safe? If you choose like, hey, I'm up for something new, I might want to try assisted living or independent living or something like that. Then we talk about, we've talked about that. And this month, ironically, the month of August, we titled Let's Talk Medical. And so I think it's really interesting that we're having this conversation at this point, because the points that you're bringing out are the things that we ought to look for, whether we're going to a dentist, whether we're going to a doctor. And the final point I want to make before I kind of toss it back to you was, I think the corollary that we keep hearing through this is that why would you want to try any of this stuff and try to come up with solutions on your own when number one, we don't have a body of experience that helps us to make good qualified decisions in many of these areas, particularly medical. So what you really need is a partnership, advisor, consultancy of somebody that you trust who has your best interest, is going to try to help you walk a line that you can walk on this stuff. And I think that's what you're trying to get at in the principles of practice. So that experience makes all the difference. So we say, don't try this on your own, Dr. Sheldon.
Well, it's true. And I think, after the break, Kerry, let's go over each of the principles of our practice one by one. There's 12 of them. And people will understand what we're talking about by principles of our practice, and we'll pace it so that it will take the entire 20 minutes, and we won't belabor any of the 1 points. Okay.
That sounds like a fair plan. That sounds like a fair plan to me. So you know what, before we go to the break, I want to make sure if somebody's hearing us talking, they're hearing about the Solid Bite Gives Back, and they say, look, I want to helping seniors, and I want to help myself, and I want to figure out what's going on in my mouth. How do they reach you, and how do they get more information on that?
Yeah, if they want to get more information, just go to solidbite.com, SOLIDBITE.com, and you can see our website. You can see some of the stuff, who we are and what we do. There's three of us there. Dr. Sheldon Furtado is a periodontist, as I am. Dr. Matt Sheldon is a general dentist, and so the two of them work together, doing surgery and restorative dentistry together, and then I'm there to do the examinations. And you can call the office, make an appointment, just say you've heard about us on Helping Seniors of Brevard Radio, and you'll get the special Solid Bite Gives Back opportunity where you can donate $50 to charity, and that's 321-259-8000. You donate $50 to charity, to the charity, Helping Seniors of Brevard, and you get the full examination, all x-rays, everything.
No, that sounds so good. So we are going to continue our conversation about this on the other side of the break. The other thing I want to remind you is we had a great time out Saturday at the Boniface Hires Mazda as part of Automotive August. We're going to talk a little bit more about that and what's going on with the Helping Seniors Car Raffle fundraiser also in the second half of the show. But I wanted to, before we got to the break, remind you that this Saturday we're going to be at Boniface Hires Kia. That's AJ Hires' beautiful new dealership right there on US 192. It's just east of I-95, and we're going to be out there once again. Chef Jillian, who is now our favorite resident chef in Helping Seniors, she's going to be doing Hawaiian barbecue pork sliders, and so we got your chips, drinks, everything's included as long as we have supplies. So come on out. It's going to be 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Boniface Hires Kia right there on New Haven Avenue, West Melbourne, US 192. It's a great chance to check out the Kia Sportage, which is one of the 4 cars you can winning the Helping Seniors car raffle. And we're gonna really be looking forward to having a big time, because it all wraps up, as you know, October 29th at the American Muscle Car Museum. So we'll be back with the second half of the show and more on Helping Seniors Radio. See you there.
And you're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard, heard every Wednesday, 12 noon to 1 o'clock. I'm John Harper. Let's get back to more of the program right now as we reintroduce the host of the show and the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard. Here's Kerry Fink. Kerry?
And thank you, John Harper. Yeah, we're in kind of a middle of a very good conversation with our guest today, Dr. Lee Sheldon, noted area periodontist and sort of famous for Dr. Sheldon and Furtado, PLLC, called Solid Bite Dental. And Dr. Sheldon, welcome back.
Thank you, Kerry. Good to be back.
So as we were talking about, every time we gather around the radio at lunchtime, we're always looking forward on Wednesdays to doing this. It's the sort of the tradition that Joe Steckler has begun, and about getting good information into the hands of the folks who are listening. It helps all of us when we can start to make our own aging plan. And we're talking about today a rather interesting topic, which I think, while we're speaking specifically of Dr. Lee Sheldon's practice here on Sarno Road in Melbourne. And we've talked about the fact that you really have a practice that's not only known locally for excellence. I've teased you and said you're probably like the father or grandfather of dental implants, because you really kind of brought that whole side of things to the Space Coast. But then you've also been a fierce defender of teeth as a periodontist, because you say we've done programs together. We say, hey, not so fast. Let's be careful, because our too many teeth being extracted. And then not only that, Dr. Sheldon, you're kind of sought after nationwide, because you've had an organization that helps practices around the country deal with their patients in a spirit of excellence. And I think that's what's so important about what we're talking about today, the principles of our practice. And there's actually 12 points here, and we're going to take a minute to just kind of like touch in on each one. And I almost wanted to do a David Letterman and start with number 12 and work backwards, but I'm not sure that's how your list works.
It's your show. You do it however you want.
Well, let's just start at the beginning and work our way through, because I think the first one is so obvious, Dr. Sheldon, and yet I mentioned it in the first part of the program that oftentimes when we are the patient and we step into a practice, a medical practice, well, I would even generalize this to say we could be going into an attorney's office. It's just somebody we respect for their knowledge, their professionalism, and their expertise in a particular area. But it makes us feel pretty intimidated, because we're not even sure we know the right questions to ask. But you said the first principle is actually you will be fully informed of the work that we are doing and the reasons for that work. And so often we forget, at the end of the day, we really are the customer, and we should make sure we know that. How would you encourage us to do the best job of being the patient coming in to make sure that's happening for us?
I think you have to understand the rationale for what we're doing. It's the reason, when a person comes in, it's a 2-hour visit with us. That's not all with me. I mean, I'm there for about a half hour, maybe a little bit longer. But my assistants are very well informed as to what, in fact, my assistants very often can do the entire diagnosis and treatment plan themselves. They don't even need me. Don't tell them that. Actually, I tell them that all the time. So, yeah, I mean, when you come into our office, I mean, yes, we see people for examinations and cleanings and things like that. But for the most part, when people come to our office, they're making major decisions. And they've got to understand the decisions, because it takes a while to do it. It costs money, and you've got to understand what's going on from start to finish. And so we don't want you to snap your fingers and say, here, give us all this money. Let's go through this and make sure that what you want and what we can provide are the same thing.
Well, and that makes so much sense. And this is kind of like an extension of that, because point number 2 says you should expect a logical sequence of treatment for your entire mouth with infections always given the first priority. And actually, before I get you to comment on it, I was telling John Harper and Jim Votro, as we were waiting for you to come on the line on today's for today's radio show, we were talking about the fact that I share this story that Tammy, my wife, went through, where before we found your office, we had probably been to, I don't know, half a dozen, if not more, dentists around the county, because she was having a lot of mouth pain. And I was relating the story about how frustrating it was, because we got to one dentist who, after trying a couple of things, and Tammy would come back, said, I don't know. What do you want to do about your mouth? That would be the most frustrating place for a patient to be. And yet what you're talking about, the way it should be done, is like the complete opposite. There should be a logical sequence for treatment. Talk about that.
Yeah, first of all with infections, always give them the first priority. The first thing we do is treat infections. The first thing we are is doctors and treating infections. The second thing we are is mouth decorators. So make sure the infections are gone before we start decorating the mouth. And so, yeah, if patient comes in with infections, patient needs a root canal extraction, treat them with periodontal disease, whatever that infection is, that needs to come first before we then go through the sequence of treatment. And the sequence of treatment is just as if you were to build a house, you wouldn't put the roof on first. You have to build the foundation, and then you build up from there. And there's a logical dental sequence, just like there's a logical building sequence to get work done.
That makes sense. Point number 3 is you should expect we're thinking about your entire, here's a big word, dentition, when we make decisions.
All of your teeth.
Ah.
In other words, I don't want to fix one tooth because I can fix it in a sea of bad teeth, pus, decay, or whatever that is. I want to make sure that whatever we're investing is part of the entire plan. You see, upper teeth fit lower teeth, and it's like a machine. The gears have to interdigitate, and we have to make sure that each of those teeth on those gears are healthy. And so I am thinking about the entire mouth before I decide on a filling or an implant or a crown or whatever it is. Will that be part of the entire overall plan, even if we're approaching that plan very slowly?
You know, that's interesting you bring that up, because I remember early on some of the shows that you and Joe Steckler did together, where you were talking about the importance of smile, and you and Joe did a show which I think is very valuable a number of years ago. It's still on the YouTube website for Helping Seniors. Just find it, Helping Seniors of Brevard. But you were talking about how you often see patients who come in complaining of headaches and things like that, and then through the process, you're finding out that it actually has to do with mouth. I think it was TMJ or something like that you guys were talking about. But the point was that I wanted to get at was that you really are looking at that overall situation and circumstance, and that everything doesn't exist in that vacuum. It's like how the whole thing works together, right?
That's exactly right, and it works together not just within our office, but there are physical therapists and chiropractors that I work with that help solve those problems. So we've got a good group of people that we've developed over the years that we know can provide reliable help for areas that we can't treat. If you need a root canal, I'm going to send you to the best root canal specialist I know. If you need orthodontic treatment, we're going to send you to the best orthodontist that we know. So it is a team approach, and while many patients get all of their work done under our roof, I firmly believe that specialists should be treating every part of the mouth when possible, in order to be able, or when necessary, in order to be able to produce a result.
Yeah, and that's a good landing spot for point number 5 of the 12 principles of our practice. We're talking with Dr. Lee Sheldon, who's noted area periodontist and kind of an expert in all this. But this is how you choose to serve folks who come in contact with your practice. And you said number 5, you should expect treatment plan alternatives with the risks and or rewards, as well as the finances clearly spelled out. I like that. That means no surprises, right?
That's correct, because what we provide, let's assume with dental implants, which is the most costly service, maybe not fall within your budget. And so the last thing we want to do is say, well, it's my way, the highway. There are other ways of of attacking it with a removable partial denture, which is far less costly, not nearly the same service, but at least you understand and you know what the start to finish for that is and what that would cost and how long it will take, as well as the implant plan. So then you can make the choice yourself. Sometimes these treatments can be phased out. In other words, we don't have to do them all at one time, that we can do that over a period of months or even years. But we've got to make sure that each part of the treatment plan builds upon the next. And if that isn't in the cards for you, if you can't afford that, then we've got to come up with something that you can afford.
Yeah, makes sense. And number 6 on our 12 principles of our practice, I like this one because you should expect no pressure exerted by us in our presentation to you, just the facts as we see them. So that means that this is not a timeshare presentation. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, and I don't give you an Omaha steak at the end either. So, yeah, I said there are so many facts that we can gain, and of course we have invested in some software not to make it easy for us, but to make it easy for the patient to see what we're doing. That it becomes more of a picture, and we're telling the story in pictures as to what can be done, what can't be done, and you see it right there. I've made a couple of videos in the past year, and I hired a professional graphic artist in order to be able to make sure those videos really popped and they really explained what they need to explain. Now, yeah, we should be able to answer your questions. It's questions and answers, not, well, of course you have to do this or whatever. You know, it's here's what we expect. And by the way, there are times when you shouldn't have treatment, and that's important too. There was somebody yesterday who had significant connective tissue disease and rheumatoid arthritis, and she wanted a soft tissue graft, a gum tissue graft. And I said, I think that may be a little bit risky for you. It'd probably come out okay, but let's try this, and let's try a non-surgical approach here and see what we can do. And with anybody else, I would have done the soft tissue graft. So there has to be some thinking behind what we're doing as well.
Yeah, there's no question about that, because again, this is where you, as the patient coming in, should be having a good working relationship with your provider, so that you're feeling like, you know, it's kind of almost like it's like a dance. You know, you're offering the information about what you hope to accomplish, and then the provider, the dentist, the doctor is hopefully saying, well, this is how we could maybe go at it. And maybe that first idea isn't going to be the best for you, but we could maybe talk about trying it this way. It seems it seems kind of logical. And yet, like I said, if we get over that intimidation factor and kind of think about it from the patient side, that's really a good way to go at it. Let's go on to number 7, principles of our practice. We're talking with Dr. Lee Sheldon. You should expect that we are fully competent to do the work that we are doing, and if not, that we will refer to a specialist who is. Wow, that seems so obvious on its face, but it probably isn't as often happening in practice.
May not be. I mean, we've talked about the idea that we just talked about it earlier, that specialists are the most competent people to treat specialty areas. And when we talk fully competent, I mean fully competent. That you know, if you have periodontal disease, we have the most highly trained as well as the most altruistic periodontists in order to be able to make sure that work is done. But we don't do root canals, and while in dental school we did some root canals, we're not the people to do root canals. The root canal specialist, the endodontist, does that, and so we're not going to try something. We're going to send you to a competent person where we know we have the best chance of getting the best result.
Yeah, and I like number 8 here too, because this to me is kind of like, let's not throw good money after bad. Number 8 says you should expect that the teeth we are choosing to treat are healthy or can be made healthy as a result of treatment.
It's true, and yeah, we just don't do it. There are certain parameters that we look at, and you know, this is the body. We can't predict 100%. which dovetails into number 9, where we have doubts, we will tell you. I will tell somebody that I have doubts. I had a patient yesterday, and actually Michelle had seen him in April, and we had lots of doubts as to whether we could save the teeth. Lots of doubts. And there were a few teeth that we just knew we couldn't save. But because we were treating the entire mouth anyway with non-surgical periodontal treatment, we said it's not going to cost you any more to treat even the teeth that we think we have to extract. And this was one of those grand slam home runs where even the teeth we thought we'd have to extract healed up beautifully. He won't have to have any extractions done for periodontal disease at all. I was just thrilled for him when I saw him yesterday. And he started in April, and here it's August, and his teeth are tight. Everything was great. But boy, I had doubts, and so did Michelle, as to whether we'd be able to help him on all the teeth. And we told him that.
Yeah, it's so funny because as you were talking about that, I always have this thought, when for me, I believe in a higher power. So I'm like, a lot of times when somebody's in a serious medical situation, it's like, well, let's get you the best help that we can think of in this particular case. But we also have to remember, at best, medical professionals are practicing medicine. That's probably why they use the term. But the experience really does help you make those right things. But I think the honesty with the patient about making sure they understand, when you're, where you're at on a particular procedure, probably gives them some peace of mind that at least, hey, doc, you're shooting me straight. Am I saying that? Am I saying that in the right way?
I think it's true. That's our intention. I think it's a lot of people's intentions. A lot of dentists who have that intention as well. So yeah, I mean, I guess some advantage is that I've been doing this for quite a few years, so that I've already seen what doesn't work out well, but I've also seen that the body is really capable of healing if we do the right things. And so we don't want to be too premature with extractions when there's a chance that if we just decontaminate the tooth and make it non-toxic, that the body might grab it right back. And that's what happened with this individual yesterday.
Well, that's great, and this kind of fits that same mindset, which I really appreciate as a patient, from a patient's viewpoint, and I think most of us would agree with this. Number 10, if you don't need treatment, we won't recommend treatment, and that seems like you're being thinking about the patient's health, but also their money. That's
true. Yeah. There's plenty of people who need dental work. We don't need to do dental work on people who don't need it. So, yeah, if you don't need treatment, that's great. Congratulations, you don't need treatment. So, and as I said earlier in the show, we had a couple of those experiences this week.
Yeah. And number 11 out of 12 on the principles of our practice. This one also is good for those who are a little bit skittish. And you and I just did a radio show not long ago. It was called Fear of Going to the Dentist Office. And so I like this one, too. You will receive a full range of anesthesia options.
Yeah, and we're fortunate enough to have 2 anesthesiologists and a nurse anesthetist who are part of our consulting staff, and they do come into our office. So whether you just need local anesthetic or you need to be put to sleep or anything in between, we provide that.
Yeah. And then rounding out the top 12, the principles of our practice. Again, we're talking with Dr. Lee Sheldon, noted area periodontist, with Sheldon and Furtado, PLLC, often known as Solid Bite. And this one is so obvious. It's amazing that we need to state it, but I guess in today's world, we need to state it. Number 12, you should expect...
customer service is important. We want to make sure that you're treated kindly and you're treated fairly. You should be a part of us, and we should be a part of you. And if there are questions, you should expect us to be able to answer them, and we're going to answer them in the most honest way possible, and certainly in the kindest way possible. Being in the dental environment is not the happiest environment or the best environment. Most people don't look forward to coming to the dentist. What thrills me most, Kerry, is when somebody comes into our office scared to death to walk in that first day. And within a few months, just has a big smile on her face as she walks in, isn't even concerned about anything anymore, that she's been treated well, she finds out the treatment can be done comfortably, and that people have that patients back, and they want to make sure that that patient is treated as well and as kindly, as fairly, and comfortably as possible.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is so important. And again, like we're talking about, while we're talking about this within the scope, as we're talking with Dr. Lee Sheldon, noted area periodontist, we're talking about it within the scope of how you've operated your practice here on the Space Coast for all these years, together with Dr. Matt Sheldon, your son, and also Dr. Sheldon Furtado, who's an expert periodontist like yourself. But it's so important. But I think these principles are the same principles you want to look for anytime you're doctor shopping, right? You know, if you're thinking about primary care physician, or they want to send you to a specialist, and all these things are things that would seem logical that you want to try to look for yourself as you get out there.
Yes, there's nothing, whether it's in medicine or in dentistry or anything else, that can't be put into language that's understandable and be logical to you. The last thing, particularly these days, well, the doctor says so, so therefore it needs to be done. It's just not the case. It's just not the case.
Yeah, and it's so important. So we've been talking with Dr. Lee Sheldon. If you wanted to reach Dr. Sheldon's office, maybe to take advantage of that Solid Bite Gives Back offer, get a good look at what's going on with your teeth, or just to maybe have a chat about what's possible, what's the number to reach you again at?
Just give us a call at 321-259-8000, and Jennifer or any of the staff members there will be happy to take any Helping Seniors of Brevard listener and give them a very special treatment and a special offer of donate $50 to Helping Seniors of Brevard, and you get the entire examination and all x-rays, including the CT scan, at no charge.
Yeah, and that's a great deal for you as a person, but it's really a great deal for us as a charity, because without your help, we don't keep going. And so the Solid Bite Gives Back program is really a great thing that helps us as well. So thank you for offering that. And Dr. Sheldon, in the few moments we have left on today's show, I know you know all about cruises, but I want to share what we're doing with the second annual Helping Seniors Foundation Cruise. So for those of you that may remember, there was about 50 of us that went sailing October of last year, and we had a wonderful time sailing out of Port Canaveral on the MSC Divina. In fact, so much fun. It ended up being a fundraiser for the Helping Seniors organization, but so much fun that Chris Morse, who organizes these for us, he's got us an even better deal. We're going to go on the second annual Helping Seniors Foundation Cruise, which is where MSC Cruises gives a portion of the cruise proceeds back into the Helping Seniors organization, helps keep us going, but it's also a great socialization opportunity because Dr. Sheldon, as you know, when you get on a cruise ship, you make friends, and then everybody flies back to where they're from, and you become friends on Facebook or something like that. But the whole idea, when Joe said, hey, this is a good thing for us to try to do as a charity, because socialization is so important, the wonderful thing is you meet friends. They're right here in Brevard County, and so we get off the ship and say, hey, let's have lunch next Wednesday. And so this is going to be coming up. There's actually 2 dates that are involved. January 6th, 2023, we're going to go out actually for a weekend. So if all you've got is a couple of days and you got busy things to do, come out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to go over to MSC's private island. We're on this beautiful new ship called the Meraviglia, and I think that Chris was telling me you get a balcony for $264, and that's everything per person. $264 double occupancy. That's everything. That includes port charges and all that other stuff they stick. You can't stay on a hotel on the beach for that for a night, and this includes gourmet meals and all that kind of stuff. But then why not come along with us as soon as we get back for a 7-night cruise? So the second annual Helping Seniors Foundation Cruise goes out on January the 8th from Port Canaveral, again on MSC Meraviglia. The deal that Chris has worked out is phenomenal. If you know anything about cruise pricing, $864 per person while he's got the outside cabins. They will double upgrade you to balcony. So for your $864, it includes everything. It includes the cruise fare, it includes the taxes, the fees. It includes prepaid gratuities. It includes a balcony cabin. It includes your Wi-Fi package. And get this is where it even gets better than what we had the first time out. It includes your drink package. So if you have ever been on a cruise ship and ordered a wine or something like that, that's a $10 hit to your credit card. In this case, that's all included. And so he's got a limited number of cabins, but you have to give a call. You could call Nancy on our senior information helpline at 321-473-7770. She'll get you connected. Or if you like to peruse on the internet, just go to helpingseniorstravelclub.com and you'll find out about that. So there you have it, Dr. Sheldon. That's our second annual Helping Seniors cruise. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity to go traveling with friends from right here in Brevard County, I
do too. And we just booked a cruise through Chris ourselves. So
Good. Well, it's all good. And so, hey, listen, the other
MSC we were on the Divina over July 4th. So I had a great time there. And the Meraviglia is huge by comparison. It's one of those big mega ships, almost brand new. It was built in 2017. They had 2 years off during COVID, so it's almost a brand new ship. And the reports on the Meraviglia are just fantastic.
Yeah, we're so excited about that we're getting, Port Canaveral used to get like the third-rate ships. Now we're like the leading port, and we get all the top. This is like a beautiful state-of-the-art ship. Chris Morse is who we're talking about, who runs the Helping Seniors Travel Club, and we were having exactly that conversation. Is like MSC has some of them. Italians are known for Ferrari design and stuff like that, so they have an eye for how things should look. And boy, you get on that ship, it's just a beautiful ship, great service, lots of fun, especially when you travel with people local. You don't have to get on an airplane, fly. You don't have to even take a bus down to Miami or something like that. You literally just get somebody to drop you off at the port and, hey, let's go sailing. So again, that's 321-473-7770 to reach Nancy. She'll get you set up with that. And also, real quickly before we close out, I want to remind you one more time, we're going to be back out at Boniface Hires Kia on this Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We call it Automotive August. It's all part of the Helping Seniors Car Raffle fundraiser. Chef Jillian from Chefs for Seniors is preparing Hawaiian pork barbecue sliders, and so lunch is on us while supplies last out there. The main reason is you get to come out and see if a Kia Sportage might be the car you want to pick in the Helping Seniors raffle, because as you know, Dr. Sheldon, you could take the Challenger, you could take a brand new Camaro, you could take a Mazda Miata, or you could do like David Odahowski, our winner last year, did, take that Kia Sportage. The main thing is, as Nancy Dierdorf likes to say, everyone's a winner, because your ticket is also admit one to the American Muscle Car Museum. So helpingseniorscarraffle.com on that. Thanks, Dr. Sheldon, for being here with us today. We will see you next time on Helping Seniors Radio.